Good afternoon and welcome to the news on 3FM 92.7. My name is Beatrice Adu. The news is also live on Kasmi 107.1 FM and across the world at 3news.com. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. Police arrest 7 suspects in highway robbery involving a Council of State member. We'll bring you the latest. Also on the program, in less than 48 hours, the opposition NPP will be heading to the polls to elect a flag bearer for the 2028 elections. But concerns are now emerging over unprecedented levels of vote buying. We'll interrogate these concerns. And much later on the program, an average of 44 lives are lost every day due to terrorist attacks in West Africa, with about 8 attacks recorded each day within the sub-region. That's according to the Foreign Affairs Ministry. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. The police have arrested 7 suspects in a highway robbery involving a Council of State member, which occurred sometime last year. The suspect, identified as Rashida Yusuf, among 6 others, have been arrested in connection with the crime. A number of items, including 50 assorted mobile phones, 7 wristwatches, and ammunition, were recovered in their possession. COP Lydia Yakodonko addressed the media some minutes ago.
The police have arrested 7 suspects in a highway robbery involving a Council of State member, which occurred sometime last year. 7 suspects identified as Rashida Yusuf, Aaron Abana Baswifanga, Wilson Avasong, Muntaro Idrisu alias Virgin, Aminu Zebrila alias Birdman, Inusa Sumaila alias Agenda, and Haruna Safiano have been arrested in connection with the crime. On 21st July 2025, the victim was traveling along the Tamale-Bupe highway when he was attacked by 6 armed men who robbed him of personal belongings, including mobile phones, some cash, wristwatches, reading glasses, a laptop, and other items. On 11 January 2026, following intelligence gathered by the CID, a team from the anti-armed robbery unit was dispatched to Salaga in the Savannah region. This operation led to the arrest of Rashida Yusuf, who was found in possession of an iPhone 7 Plus belonging to one of the victims. Further investigations led officers to a mobile phone shop located at Dagomba Line in Salaga. The shop attendant, Aaron Abana Baswifanga, was arrested, and he disclosed that the phone had been brought to the shop by his uncle, Wilson Avasson, 1 live 5.56 by 44 CZ ammunition, 2 live revolver ammunition, 1 face mask, 1 jackknife, a quantity of dried leaves suspected to be Indian hemp, 1 talisman, 1 cutter, 1 catapult, 15 assorted mobile phones, 1 Django motorbike, 17 assorted wristwatches, 5 pen drives, 1 Telecel SIM card, and 3 MTN cards, which were removed from the phones that were snatched from victims during the robbery. Further investigations revealed that Aminu Zebrila is an ex-convict who was convicted of robbery in 2012. Finally, let us adopt basic safety measures in our daily routines, stay alert in crowded places, and inform trusted individuals of your whereabouts. Any suspicious activity should be reported immediately to the nearest police station for assistance.
And I heard that the Director General of the Ghana Police CID, COP Lydia Donko. Now, Election Watch Ghana, a civil society organization, is warning against what it describes as possible unprecedented vote buying ahead of the MPP presidential primary, which is only 2 days away. The Election Observer Group says the situation, if left unchecked, may gravely affect the integrity of the country's democratic process, which is under serious threat. The 5 presidential aspirants have already signed a peace pact committing themselves to a peaceful, transparent and credible internal election ahead of the party's presidential primary scheduled for the 31st of January 2026. In a statement issued on Thursday, January 29, 2026, the Election Monitoring Group has said findings from its community engagement indicate that some candidates are allegedly deploying huge sums of money to influence delegates' decisions. And let me bring you more of that finding from this group. It says that our finding shows that serious candidates are allocating substantial resources, reportedly between 150 to 200 million Ghana cedis cash to influence delegates' decisions through lavish offers, including hotel accommodations, transportation and feeding, and also per diems. It says such practices not only compromise the fairness of the election, but also jeopardize the unity and stability of the party and the nation as a whole. It says, we urge the Electoral Commission to take immediate action to address these irregularities and ensure a level playing field for all candidates. We encourage citizens to report any instances of vote buying to the EC's toll-free number 0800324324. The number again, 0800324324. Let me just read that to you one last time. If you're watching us on Facebook, we've actually displayed this very number on your screen, and that is 0800324324. Now, the statement went on to say that the Electoral Commission must uphold the highest standards of professionalism and impartiality, including ensuring that its officials are not compromised by accepting gifts or favors from candidates. We call on all stakeholders to prioritize the integrity of our electoral process and work towards a free, fair, and transparent election. And so that's that statement coming from the Election Observer Group. Let's speak to Jude Balmer, who is a convener of Election Watch. Good afternoon to you, sir. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good afternoon, Beatrice.
If I may ask you first, how worrying this trend, as you've seen, is, especially ahead of this incumbent, as in this incoming primary that's on Saturday?
Good afternoon again. This trend became a norm, and it forced us to issue this statement today because Election Watch is actually on a 13-day committee engagement prior to the MPP 31st January elections, engaging the MPP delegates and stakeholders at large. And when you go around and you speak to these people, most of the issues they raise is vote buying. And they don't talk about vote buying with joy, but they talk about the vote buying with despair because their candidates are not having the muscle to pay as much as what others are paying. That's why they are seeing this as a bad trend and something that needs to be tackled ASAP. Because at the end of the day, they are promising that there will be a candidate that will lead a party that will not be the people's choice, but actually a seat that will be bought by the highest bidder. So the delegates are worried.
The delegates are worried, you say. Have you reported these findings to the MPP leadership or the Electoral Commission because you claim you have them?
Yes. So what we did as a CSO, the Electoral Commission is having a toll-free number. We try as much as possible to give the toll-free number to the delegates themselves who are beneficiaries or who are those getting this offers to make the direct complaint to the Electoral Commission. Now, we believe that the structures of the MPP is as solid as any other structure. They should be in touch with their grassroots. A CSO shouldn't be the one going around to get this information for them. If they are in touch with the grassroots, they will know what they are talking about, that the seat is being bought by the highest bidder and they are not happy about it. We are also hoping that those who are calling the Electoral Commissioner, the Electoral Commissioner will not just take this calls and just go to sleep, but will work on it from today to the day of the event, because we know a lot can be done from today to the day of the event. If they want to push further, these delegates are ready to come up with the names, because they are saying they are coordinators who are checking their numbers, their details, and asking them whether they want to sleep over the Friday and vote on Saturday, or they want to return, and those who want to even sleep over after the elections, so that they book hotels for them, they get them transportation, and get them a per diem. One of the delegates we spoke with is saying that as we speak right now, he has 3 rooms that have been booked for him, and he was happy for getting the 3 rooms, but at the end of the day, they were not appreciating it, that our democracy is now at the market and being sold out to the highest bidder.
Now, with just 2 days to the elections, what are your expectations as regards which actions must be taken to address some of these issues?
We think when this statement came up, we have received some calls, and we know the NPP is ready to engage the flag bearers again internally. And the Electoral Commission too should, has not done anything yet, but the Electoral Commission should, as urgent as possible, talk to the NPP and train their officials very well so that they will be firm on the ground when it comes to enforcing the law. This is not the work of the police. Vote buying is not the work of the police or the work of the NPP party, but the duty of the Electoral Commission to make sure that there is a level playing ground for both all parties involved in this election. It's their work, and they have to work towards it. And secondly, we want to also use this means to also tell the Electoral Commissioner that even the delegates are being bought, how much more the officials from the Electoral Commission, they should instill discipline in them. They shouldn't go there and go and take something for breakfast, lunch, or transport. They should resource their officials very well to prevent them from falling into such temptations.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Bauman, for speaking to us.
Thank you too.
And you had Jude Bauman, he's a convener of the Election Watch Ghana, sharing details of a research, as it were, that they've done on this. Now, still on the NPP, and a flag bearer hopeful, Dr. Yao Oseduchum, believes he remains the only unifier to bring all members of the party together, since he has demonstrated that during his campaign activities. He also appealed to delegates to vote for him, as he touts his credentials of rolling out policies aimed at poverty reduction and eradication.
I believe that our nation must ensure that workers have livable wages. Livable wages are wages that take care of you and your family. You're able to take care of your family, pay fees and other things, and be able down the line to own a car, own a home. That is what happens in most countries that are emerging out of poverty. So livable wages is something that we need to work on as a nation, and I'm going to champion it, and I'm going to do. Ghanaians must prosper, and we need to increase productivity for the prosperity to happen. But there can be no increase in productivity without providing you the avenue and opportunity to be trained and to train yourself well, giving you vouchers so that you can gain skills. 21st century skills in the IT field, for example, is something that my government will pursue. Workers will be given the opportunity to train themselves well, so that they can advance themselves and add value to whatever has been assigned to them at their place of work. I think I've also alluded to the fact that we have to eradicate poverty from the face of this country. If it's a very important goal and we work on it, we'll be able to do it. The idea that close to about 40% of the people are not working, or some who are working are still poor, I think it's something that should concern us, and we need to do everything possible to eradicate poverty from the face of this country.
And he had Dr. Yao Oseduchum. He is one of the 5 NPP aspirants going into the presidential primary this Saturday. Now, Vice President of Imani Africa, Kofi Bento, says the recent Supreme Court ruling of the Pandai parliamentary election rerun highlights the role of the judiciary in correcting errors from lower courts. He says anyone who feels aggrieved by a judgment has the right to appeal, and the Supreme Court exists to ensure that mistakes can be overturned. Earlier, the Apex Court, by a 4-1 majority decision, quashed the Tamale High Court ruling that annulled the Pandai parliamentary election in December 2024. Leadership of the NDC have vowed to seek redress following the reinstatement of Matthew Nyendam as Member of Parliament for Pandai constituency after the Supreme Court's decision. Mr. Bento urged the public to respect court processes adding that open commentary often lacks the full fact. He spoke earlier on TV3's Big Issue.
The point that we all have to appreciate is that when the matter is before a court, as in the Supreme Court or any other court where the ruling hasn't come out, people should not go ahead and act as if they know how it's going to turn out. So for me, I mean, this is the law at work. The Supreme Court has done its job. And what it has done is not strange. It has overturned the ruling of a lower court because there were mistakes. And we all move on. The problem is where people take the ruling of a lower court, which has been challenged, and then they proceed as if that ruling cannot change. In this particular instance, the EC and Parliament acting as if, the matter cannot change, and then going ahead to arrange a by-election. Today, as we speak, whatever money was spent on that by-election is wasted. So we all have to appreciate that elections are not won at the polling station. They are won if they are challenged in a court of law, because the court will declare who the winner actually is. If we understand these things, we will all be better off for it. So that's how we should see this present ruling. And in future, people should wait for the judges to conclude the matter before they take steps.
And he had Kofi Bento, his lawyer, and the Vice President of Imani Africa speaking to me earlier on the Big Issue on TV3. Now, the Ayawaso East NDC parliamentary primary is also some few days away, and campaigning continues unabated. The election slated for the 7th of February has become necessary after the passing of the MP, Nassar Ahmed, earlier this month. 5 aspirants who filed nominations to contest the parliamentary seat on the ticket of the NDC have all been declared following a successful voting exercise, including the widow of the deceased MP. Let's connect with our reporter Noura Mohammed, who is currently in the constituency. Noura, talk to us about the euphoria in the constituency as at now.
Yes, can you hear me, Beatrice?
Yes, I can. Please go ahead.
Yes, so the constituents are sort of torn between the 5 parliamentary candidates for the parliamentary, for the NDC ticket to run during the by-election. And out of the people we spoke to, it seems to be torn between Baba Jamal and the wife of the late MP, who is Hajia Amina Adam. And most of them are looking forward to the elections come February 7th. And then some are, those who are against the late MP's wife are saying that they hadn't really seen anything the MP did. And so what exactly is this wife, this widow, going to continue? And then those who are for her are saying that it is time that we had more female representation in our parliament. And so they feel like she's the woman for the job. She has the constituency at heart, and she's coming to continue the good work that the late McNaza did. And so it's quite, it's quite tight between the two of them. We also have the constituency chairman who's also running, and then some 2 others. And they don't really seem to have as much support based on the people we spoke to. So it's pretty euphoric, like you mentioned, and the energy is quite rife over there.
If you say the energy is quite rife in the constituency, what exactly did you see?
Well, we saw that when we approached people, they were very sort of energetic and excited and looking forward to the elections. Some of them spoke against each other, some were debating, some were arguing, So, we could point to that and think the energy was rife in the constituency.
Thank you very much, Noura Mohammed. She's our correspondent currently monitoring the atmosphere in Ayawaso East as constituents there prepare for a by-election on the 7th of February. Meanwhile, the New Patriotic Party has named Baba Ali as its parliamentary candidate for the Ayawaso by-election. Now, this decision comes ahead of the crucial contest following the death of the sitting member of parliament, which created a vacancy in the constituency. Baba Ali, a former constituency executive, was selected for after consultations within the party, with the MPP expressing confidence in his ability to retain the seat, and that by-election is scheduled for the 3rd of March. Now, an average of 44 lives are lost every day due to terrorist attacks in West Africa, with about 8 attacks recorded each day within the sub-region. This was revealed by Ghana's Foreign Affairs Minister Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa, who noted that the sub-region has become the global hub for terrorism activities. The minister reviewed this grim picture at the high-level consultative conference on regional cooperation and security in Accra, attended by security chiefs from member states within the region, including Burkina Faso, Guinea, Nigeria, and Mali, among others. The 2-day conference is aimed at preempting and strategically confronting the threat of terror within the region.
The challenges we face are not confined to a single nation. Extremism in the Sahel, piracy in the Gulf of Guinea, trafficking across porous borders, and the silent erosion of resilience in our communities are threats that transcend national borders. They remind us that no state can stand alone. Our strength lies in unity, in pooling our wisdom, and in the courage to act together. It is totally unacceptable that we do not have an agreed regional vehicle to address this trans-border challenge. And that is why we have convened this meeting as leaders determined to find a lasting solution to this threat. We meet at a time when the sub-region faces deep structural pressures: violent extremism, terrorism, instability, climate stress, food insecurity, and youth unemployment converge, creating vulnerabilities that extremists and criminal groups exploit. Intelligence, therefore, cannot be confined to kinetic threats alone. It must encompass the broader picture, the economic corridors that sustain trade, the border communities whose livelihoods depend on cross-border movement, and the social fabric that binds our societies. Our deliberations today must be multidimensional. They must integrate economic realities, social pressures, and governance weaknesses into the threat we face. They must anticipate not only the movement of armed groups, but also the silent erosion of resilience in communities where opportunities are scarce. Intelligence becomes not only a security tool, but a compass for socio-economic development.
Yeah, the Foreign Affairs Minister Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa. Female students of the Northern School of Business in Tamale who were affected by a devastating fire outbreak on Wednesday, the 20th of January, have begun leaving campus. School uniforms, mattresses, and other belongings of over 900 female students of the school were devastated following the fire incident. Northern Regional Minister Adolf Ali John, in consultation with the Regional Directorate of Education, ordered all second-year students to go home for a 1-week break, while heavily affected students will also go home. The victims are also to receive counseling to aid them recover from the trauma before returning to school. We'll be hearing from the regional minister shortly, but first let's get an idea of what the situation is like from our correspondent Christopher Amakokres. If you can tell us the situation of the school now. I know you've been there.
Yes, so the students are counting their losses. Their belongings ranging from school uniforms, mattresses, food items, their chop boxes, and other items that were ravaged by the fire. As we speak, even though the school is taking plans to clear the place and see how possible they can get some support to begin reconstructing the burnt dormitory. They have also indicated that the students should go home, the affected students should go home, and as the school takes steps to work on the building. Now, most of them have begun leaving the school to go to their various communities where they came from. Now, the other issue has to do with the fact that the regional minister has indicated that as a result of that, they will need some psychosocial support to be able to overcome the incidents that happened yesterday. Let's take a listen to what the regional minister has to say.
I got wind through the regional director of education. Though the fire service officials got here, unfortunately at the time they could get here, the fire had gutted the whole dormitory. The good news is that not even a single student was in the dormitory as at that time. And so, in the midst of all this sad period, we still have to say a very big thank you to God, because none of our students was in the dormitory or hurt in any way at that moment. And one thing that I can see, and everybody around me can see, is that everything, every property of every student within this dormitory capacity of 900 students has been burned down totally. It's a very sad situation. Most of these students are final year students who are preparing to register for their WASI. Looking at the problem now, myself and the regional director of education, the headmaster, we have put our heads together, and the only thing that we can do at this critical moment is to let the second years go home. We are giving them 1 week break, saying that the students who are seriously affected should also go home.
And you had the Northern Regional Minister Adolf Ali John. Let's wrap up with Christopher Mwako, who is our correspondent. Chris, like I said, you've been to the school. If you can tell us the demeanor of both students and school authorities following this fire outbreak.
Yes, the students are sad. Those that are still on campus are waiting for their relatives to get in touch with them so that they can leave and start going home. The teachers are also unhappy about the situation because their students have been affected. Some of them have become a burden onto them because they would demand some financial support from them to be able to go home. But this undoubtedly is going to affect academic activities, especially those who are candidates and preparing for their exam.
Indeed. Thank you very much, Christopher Mwako. He's our Northern Regional Correspondent. Now, the Ghana Federation of Allied Health Professional Workers Union and the Medical Laboratory Professional Workers Union at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital have threatened a strike from February 4, 2026 due to lack of directors for some units under the laboratory department. They have accused hospital management of a breach of Section 69 of the Labour Act, Act 651, and are demanding urgent redress of the issue. The unions are asking for the appointment of a head of laboratory services and laboratory manager for the Kolebu Central Laboratory, saying a further delay will cause the industrial action to happen. Chairman of the association, Adam Ayem, also demanded the suspension of a possible privatization of the Kolebu Central Laboratory pending engagement with the union.
For many years now, we have been asking for the opportunity to have our own directorate that takes care of us and that helps to promote whatever is allied health, for good governance, for accountability, for education, etc. That's all we have been asking for. Since time immemorial, we have been under the Medical Affairs Directorate. The nurses have their own directorate with their director. The pharmacists have their own directorate with a director. The doctors have their own directorate with a director. Currently, we are under the medical directorate, the doctors. The JV General Services have a directorate with a director. Now we come to all these professions, and all we are asking for is give us also a director.
And you heard that the chairman of the Ghana Federation of Allied Health Professional Workers Union. Well, that's it for the midday news here on 3FM and 92.7. My name is Beatrice Adu. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. Log on to 3news.com for more news.
Hello there, good afternoon and welcome to Business Daily on 3FM 92.7. Coming up, Ghana Union of Traders Associations GUTA applauds Bank of Ghana for slashed policy rate, single-digit target, and Agribusiness Chamber demands sector-wide price cuts amid improved economy. Plus, Ghana sees some construction relief as building cost inflation hits 8-month low at 4.4% in December 2025.
The December 2025 year-on-year inflation of 4.4% marks the 8th consecutive drop in year-on-year inflation.
I am Michael Obodu. Details of these and many other stories coming up shortly. Please don't go anywhere. Well, thank you so much for your time, and straight into our top story. And the Ghana Union of Traders Associations GUTA has welcomed the latest cut in the policy rate, praising the central bank governor and suggesting his ambition of achieving a single-digit rate before the end of his tenure may be within reach. The Bank of Ghana announced a reduction in the policy rate from 18% to 15.5%, a move that has been welcomed by the business community. At 15%, the rate is now at its lowest level in 4 years, surprising many economists who had expected a more cautious approach. Since July last year, the central bank has lowered its main lending rate by a cumulative 12.5 percentage points, citing improved macroeconomic conditions. Governor Johnson Esiama said the Monetary Policy Committee's majority decision reflected confidence in Ghana's economic outlook, with inflation remaining under control. Speaking to 3 Business, GUTA President Clement Boateng described the announcement as welcomed news for traders and businesses across the country.
Before the committee meeting, and I even told the person that I don't expect any increments, but rather I even still want them to maintain it or even decrease it. And right to my words, they decrease it by 250 basis, and I think it's a welcome news. So what we want the BOD to do as a regulatory body is also to impress upon the commercial banks to also try and reduce their lending rate.
The governor had earlier indicated his intention to bring the policy rate down to single digits before leaving office. Mr. Boateng believes that target may be achieved sooner than expected.
Things are going. I'm sure that before he exited, we'll be able, to achieve that goal. And if we are able to do that, then on businesses, for them to be able to, borrow at a very moderate, lending rate, and then be able to expand their.
You heard the president of the Ghana Union of Traders Associations, GUTA, Clement Boateng, ending that report. Now, the Chamber of Agribusiness Ghana has issued an urgent call to stakeholders across the agricultural value chain to implement immediate and structured price reductions. The Chamber argues that the current easing of macroeconomic pressures has significantly lowered operational costs, making a strong case for lower food prices. There is more in this report.
Following a landmark of 20 to 25% price cuts by the National Association of Seed Traders and Agro-Input Dealers, the Chamber of Agribusiness Ghana is demanding sector-wide price reductions. The Chamber described these cuts as economically justified due to a significant easing of macroeconomic pressures across the country. Lower global petroleum prices have already reduced costs for farm mechanization and the transport of goods to urban markets. Simultaneously, a stable and appreciating Ghana cedi has lowered the landed cost of imported fertilizers and machinery by an estimated 15 to 20%. Technical models cited by the CAG suggest that these wholesale savings should translate directly into cheaper food for consumers. To prevent these savings from being absorbed as excess profit, the Chamber proposed the creation of a sectorial price monitoring desk. This body involves the Ministry of Food and Agriculture and the Ghana Statistical Service, would track compliance and assess welfare impact. The CAG specifically urged fertilizer importers, processors, and logistics providers to adjust their rate to reflect current cost structures. Ultimately, the Chamber views this as a vital step toward ensuring food affordability and corporate responsibility in 2026.
And that was a 3 Business News Desk report. Ghana's construction sector is closed last year on a stable note as building cost inflation dropped to 4.4% in December 2025, marking the 8th consecutive monthly decline. Now, the figures released by government statistician Dr. Alhassan Idrisu represent a significant cooling of the market compared to the 22.65% recorded in December 2024. This signals a sustained easing of the price pressures that have historically burdened developers and homeowners.
This means, on the average, building input prices were 4.4% higher in December 2025 than they were in December 2024. Now, on a month-on-month basis, inflation was negative 0.2%. This means that between November and December 2025, building input prices fell by 0.2%. This is a key message for the construction sector. And what is the message? We are seeing price stability. And even as a small reduction in overall monthly building cost, but over the period, we are seeing that prices are becoming very stable. The December 2025 year-on-year inflation of 4.4% marks the 8th consecutive drop in year-on-year inflation.
So you heard the government statistician Dr. Alhassan Idrisu speaking. Now, away from that, the Minister for Trade, Agribusiness and Industry, Elizabeth Ofosu-Adjare, has underscored Ghana's unique advantage as the host of the African Continental Free Trade Area Secretariat. She stated that by improving domestic production standards and maritime logistics, Ghana is positioning itself as the manufacturing gateway to a continental market. Speaking at the Africa Trade Summit 2026, Ofosu-Adjare declared that the government's industrial agenda is now firmly anchored on value addition to ensure long-term productivity and global competitiveness.
The Minister for Trade, Agribusiness and Industry, Elizabeth Ofosu-Adjare, has reaffirmed that Ghana's economic future depends on shifting from raw material exports to high-value manufacturing.
Ghana has adopted deliberate strategy, sector-specific industrial policies with innovative financing structures. We have moved away from generic industrial support to focused intervention in sectors where Ghana has actual or latent comparative and competitive advantage and where we can build competitive value chains. Textiles and garments high on the block for 2026. Why textiles and garments? The answer is simple. First, employment creation potential. Second, regional market opportunities. With the Africa Continental Free Trade Area now operational and Ghana's continued access to EU market and AGOA, we have preferential access to market representing over 1.5 billion people.
The Africa Trade Summit 2026 is the continent's premier platform for advancing industrialization, trade and investment, organized by the African Trade Chamber in partnership with the government of Ghana.
Well, and that's how we end today's edition of Business Daily here on 3FM 92.7. For more business stories, please check out our website. It's 3news.com/business. I am Michael Obodu. Thank you for tuning in. As always, please stay safe. Up next is Urban Blend with Black Rasta.